Streamlining government operations. Cabinet slashes the 2013-2014 budget, reducing it from 17.3 billion to 17.2 billion South Sudanese pounds. Foreigners are free to do businesses in South Sudan. And fighting illiteracy, the country joins the rest of the world to commemorate the International Illiteracy Day. Good evening and thank you for joining us on SSTV this Friday evening. My name is Ayet Patrick, and let's have a look at what we have for you today in this bulletin. President Salva Kiir is back in the country after attending a two-day Heads of State Summit on the Great Lakes region that took place in Kampala, Uganda. The plane carrying the president and his entourage touched down at Juba International Airport this morning, and upon arrival at the airport, the head of state was received by the Vice President, James Waniiga, and other top government officials.
Is back to the country after attending a two-day Heads of State Summit on the Great Lakes region that took place in Kampala, Uganda. The plane carrying the president and his entourage touched down at Juba International Airport this morning, and upon his arrival, the head of the state was received by the Vice President, James Waniiga, and the other top government officials. While in Kampala, the president joined other 5 leaders from the member states to discuss mainly the deteriorating situation in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, brought about by a group of rebels calling itself M23.
The extended joint verification mechanism, it is a committee which was formed to investigate the reasons for these bombings that happened inside the DRC. Also, the bombing that occurred, the bombs that landed in Rwanda, it was also, these bombs were seen to be coming from DRC into Rwanda. That process was also condemned, the exercise of bombardment into Rwanda, and also the FGBM committee will in fact investigate and then report back to the Ministers of Defense as soon as possible. Equally, the Kampala dialogue should resume. It was also agreed that the peace dialogue which was going on in Kampala, known as the Kampala Peace Dialogue, would resume within 3 days after the International Conference of Great Lakes Region Extraordinary Summit of the 5th September 2013, and conclude within a maximum period of 14 days.
According to Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Barnaba Mariel Benjamin, the leaders agreed to form a committee to investigate the activities of the rebels and allegations of shelling of Rwanda by DRC forces. The leaders also ordered the resumption of stalled talks between the rebels and a representative of the DRC government in the next 3 days. The summit was presided over by a meeting of foreign affairs ministers and their defense counterparts. Uganda'S President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is currently the head of the Great Lakes Conference, which brings together countries which mainly share the Lake Victoria resource.
The cabinet has reviewed the 2013-2014 budget, slashing from 17.3 billion South Sudanese pounds to 17.2 billion South Sudanese pounds. In a cabinet meeting that was chaired by President Salva Kiir, the Council of Ministers ordered the Ministry of Finance and the Economic Cluster to review the budget, taking into consideration the changes made, and report back to the meeting next Friday.
By the Minister of Finance, and it is presented today to the Assembly, to the Cabinet, and the Cabinet passed it with observations and directed the Minister of Finance in collaboration with the Economic Cluster to review the budget in accordance with the observations which were made, and that by next Friday the budget should be brought back to the Cabinet for final approval.
Vice President James Waniiga today met SPLM secretaries from 6 states in his office who had paid him a courtesy call. The top party officials promised to stand by the Vice President on his new endeavors and the need to restrict the party to make it vibrant and attractive to new membership.
His Excellency, the Vice President, and Deputy Chairman of SPLM, Comrade Waniiga. The purpose of our meeting was to convey a message of congratulations from our various states. We came here collectively to congratulate Comrade Wani and also thanks the SPLM leadership.
South Sudan today joined the rest of the world in commemorating the International Literacy Day. The occasion was held in Yambio, Western Equatoria State, where the National Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Dr. John Guy, reassured participants of his ministry's commitment to reduce the rate of illiteracy in the country by 70%, with special emphasis on girl-child education.
The national community has been doing this for 100 years. So it's a conventional one. It's a normal way to do it. You go to country and tell them, we will help you with literacy, and nothing happened. So we need creative, innovative, new approach to literacy. And I hope this is reflected in this document.
The youth who have families and do not have a way of getting a job. So it is better for us to see how we include the aspect of functional literacy so that they are trained along a certain line that can make them to achieve in life.
The prison service will undertake an audit of all its staff countrywide to get rid of ghost workers. The director of the National Prison Service says the department will embark on a head count to ascertain the true number of its staff and their placements. Apart from the audit, the department will also screen the personnel to ensure only professionals are retained in the force.
The National Prison Service will embark on its audit of all its staff countrywide to strike out the ghost workers who are minting thousands of pounds for non-existent service. The Director of National Prison Service, Abel McCoy, said the department will undertake head count to ascertain the true number of its staff and their replacement, besides carrying out screening to ensure only professionals are retained in their force.
So he was not talking as a minister, but he was talking as a person who is among us, who knows much of our institution. So we'll not deceive ourselves that we are telling him something new.
Comrades, we are in process of nation building. And this needs us to transform ourselves. And transformation must start with us as a top people.
McCoy made a remark during the conference for prison director, which was also attended by the Deputy Minister of Interior, Jadala Agustino Wani. The Deputy Minister promised to ensure that the prison bill adopted by the Parliament and enacted into law to guide the department in improving service delivery.
You seek for more knowledge so that you become skillful to help your nation and to help your people. And especially you, as generals in prison, you are supposed to be psychiatrists. And I believe you are psychiatrians. Because if you are not psychiatric, now you are managing 7,000 prisoners in the prisons all over the South. If you are not capable, you have that mental capacity to talk and sensitize the prisoners, they would have actually break all the prisons and they ran away.
Jadala commended the department for tireless effort in caring for inmates, urging them to promote the spirit of nationalism, unity, and respect for those they handle. Reporting for SSTV, I'm Alek Malak.
The drafting committee of the National Security Policy is undertaking consultations with various stakeholders on the proposed document that will guide in the country in achieving national security through equitable development, good governance, and effective service delivery. The committee today held a meeting with the National Assembly and a committee from the judiciary headed by Chief Justice Chan Rech on the issue of detention centers across and the need to upholding human rights and dignity even in arrest.
National security policy meeting various stakeholders for consultation on the proposed policy that will guide the country in achieving national security through equitable development, good governance, and effective service delivery. The committee, which was hold a several meeting today, had held a session with the National Assembly and a committee from the judiciary led by the Chief Justice Chanrech Madut on issues related to detention and the need to uphold human rights and dignity, even in arrest.
Of the prison, because they believe it's bitter and it has medicinal properties to help themselves as a kind of treatment. The mahogany tree, they peel it, it is boiled, it is put in water, then they drink this. This is inhuman. If somebody is in the prison, it's the responsibility of the authorities to make sure they get their food, they get their treatment, they are not subjected to any kind of mistreatment on behalf of the people taking care of them.
شؤون الأمن برئاسة الجمهورية آنذاك الجنرال وياي دينا جاك أصدر قراراً بتكوين لجنة مكونة من 12 عضواً لوضع مسودة وصياغة الأمن الوطني نيابة عن مجلس الوزراء.
Once adopted according to the committee, the policy will guide in only achieving the primary objective of the security and the protection of the territorial and sovereignty, but also provide a platform to address the strategic national sub-objectives. The policy highlights the challenges that might affect the country's security environment, which lead tribal and local conflict, inequality and underdevelopment, weak state institutions, and among others variables. Reporting for SSTV News, I'm Emmanuel Malwal.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with World Health Organization, has dispatched 1.5 million doses of anti-malaria drugs to Arab State to counter the outbreak of the disease that has hit the state following the ongoing floods. The Minister of Gender, Child and Social Welfare, Awut Deng Achwil, who is also a member of a cabinet committee assessing the floods in the country, said the move was in response to a plea by the governor of the state that the region was running out of essential drugs.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, has dispatched 1.5 million doses of malaria drugs to Arab State to mitigate the outbreak of diseases that has hit the state due to the ongoing floods being experienced across the country. The Minister of Gender, Child and Social Welfare, Awut Deng Achwil, who supervised the loading of the drugs to be flown to the state, said the decision was taken in response to a plea by the governor of the state that the region was running out of essential drugs. The minister commended international NGOs for availing the drugs and air transport to the most remote parts of the country.
This is in response to the call from the governor of Arab States and other governors And not only that, I was a witness also when I went to visit Western Barghazal and Warab. I saw the floods was really very bad, and the rain was still raining, and it's still raining every day. It rains, and a lot of water is just...
Dr. Abdi Mohammed, the World Health Organization country representative, said his organization promised to provide more drugs and mosquito nets to residents of areas that have been badly hit by the floods.
We have sent the ministry has sent together with WHO anti-malaria for all the 10 states of the Republic of South Sudan. And we are going to hand over to the Ministry of Health another 1.5 million doses of anti-malarials, hopefully next week. Which means there's a big teamwork, and we are very, very grateful to our new minister, our undersecretary, the whole Ministry of Health team, the state ministries, and everybody involved in the health sector.
This is the first lot of things that we are selling. These now 1.5 tons of medicines. And as the doctor was saying earlier, we already have enough stocks there. I can confidently say that we are secure. There's no panic. There's nothing to worry about. And for that reason, I really appreciate the leadership provided by our minister.
The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Makur Koryom, said the ministry will be proactive in responding to disasters and that more doctors will be dispatched to Warab to contain the malaria outbreak. Jackie Darrow, SSTV.
The police today held a meeting with representatives of foreigners doing businesses in the country to allay fears that foreign business community was being targeted by security personnel. The police assured all foreigners that they will be protected as long as they are involved in legal ventures. The meeting was prompted by claims that security forces were targeting foreign nationals doing businesses in the country after an order was issued by the Ministry of Interior banning foreigners from the motorcycle business commonly known as border.
The police today met the representatives of foreigners doing business in the country to downplay fears that foreign business community was being targeted by security personnel. The police assured all foreigners of being protected as long as they are involved in legal businesses. The Inspector General of Police, General Pieng Deng Kwol, said foreigners are at liberty to engage in legal ventures within the country's framework, but not the border business, which the statistics indicate to be safe haven from criminal elements.
Meeting drew 3 representatives from each of the communities. It was only the representative of Ethiopia who was not present. All the communities sent their representative. And the agenda was a briefing on connected to issues in Juba, and particularly the ministerial order which was issued by His Excellency the Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Aliu, regarding the operation of border by foreigners. The order was very clear that no more licensing of border to foreigners. And those who are already operating have to either change the business or stop operating border for business purposes. Anywhere anybody using border, that's a motorcycle as a means of transport, is not affected. So the Inspector General of Police explained the meaning of this order, and that the order was mainly for security purposes, because more than 80% of the crimes being committed in Juba and the accidents involved border.
Anxiety which had been created that foreigners have been chased from South Sudan, which is not correct. The decree by the minister was very clear that they don't want commercial borders to operate, because this kind of work should be for nationals, and secondly, it had created a lot of insecurity. These borders had become a source of crime. That is why this directive was issued, but it was not intended to chase foreigners. Foreigners are needed here. They are brothers and sisters, but it is the duty of the government to make its laws, and nobody should interfere with it. And this is the information which we are going to tell our community, that they are free to live harmoniously with the people here. They are not chasing anybody, but they only stopped commercial borders from operating.
A representative from the Ugandan business community in Juba, Subuga John, said the order banning foreigners from the border business, which mainly hit many Ugandan nationals who are engaged in the sector, was blown out of context, that foreigners were being ejected from South Sudan. Reporting for SSTV News, Eddie Stephen.
Schools across the country are facing imminent closure following acute teachers' shortage. The move is said to have been ignited by poor remuneration in the profession that has made it less attractive. This has now compelled the government of Central Equatoria to step and rescue the situation, which it claims, if unchecked, will retard the gains so far achieved in the education sector.
Schools across the country are treading on turbulent times. Teachers are taking a flight as the profession is becoming less attractive in comparison to the rocketing cost of living. The poor remuneration has not made matters any better, and the situation is scary, with many schools staring at imminent shutdown.
Lack of training is one of the problems. And then mathematics, especially mathematics, clear, is affecting. There are very few teachers who are teaching mathematics. Then sciences. These are the two subjects which I'm seeing is a problem to the students. Now imagine myself, I'm the deputy headmaster and administrator. Still I'm taking more than 3 subjects. Mathematics, part of science, and then social studies. And now where are the teachers who are supposed to take this subject?
The state of affairs is so daring that the government of Central Equatoria State is deploying any skill in the books to ensure education, which many say is the key to success, is not interrupted. The state government is appealing to the National Minister of Education to step and also swim in murky waters and rescue the ailing education sector across the country.
One I may suggest, clear? One of it, the government at least should see that the salary of teachers should be raised up a bit, clear? To encourage or to attract. But if they are rigid in the same amount, they will not get teachers. Yeah. 2, transport is not there. Allowances is not there. Clear? How can you work if you become sick? How will you really cover from your sickness with a little amount? These are some of the things. Clear? Salary must be increased. Houses teachers must at least have. Allowances teachers must have. Promotion teachers at least must have that.
The spokesperson of Central Equatoria State, Jacob Aligo, said cases of teachers leaving government schools are alarming, and if unchecked, the country will be in doldrums. Paulino Solomon, with experience in teaching of 35 years in this profession, says he has nothing to be proud of when he reflects the years he has been laboring for this country.
Now, during the war, many teachers joined the army. Clear? By then during the war. But now, teachers are now in the field, they prefer cultivation. When I give you example, the people in Yei, clear, teachers who have been teaching, they are now cultivating. When you take your cassava, 2 sacks, you will get more money than teaching. Imagine scale what? Scale 14. Clear? They are getting less than what the cultivator is getting. 280, 380 pounds. how will you feed your family? Clear? You cannot feed your family.
Paulino challenged the government to motivate teachers if any gainful development is to be attained in the country.
One of the effects which discourage teachers to depart away from their section of teaching is actually salary, promotion, houses. We are lacking houses. How can you work moving from Juba town here 10 miles, sometimes on foot? Clear? This is actually one of the problems which is affecting us teachers.
Trying to embark on education to wipe out illiteracy in the country. But the situation of the teachers has worsened than before. As Usaz explained, the teachers have deserted the profession and moving to other Jewish professions in the country. But now the question remains, how can we really save teachers in this field to see a better future in terms of education in the country? James Arusatanga, SSTV.
Yeah, thank you, James, for that report. And today is World Literacy Day. So therefore, education and teachers. And another story also making headline in the country, Malakal Commercial Agriculture Company Limited imported a wide range of machinery for agricultural purposes. The locally owned company imported tractors, planters, among other machines for agriculture. And the Director General in the Ministry of Agriculture, Aned Bilasio, urged investors to focus on agriculture for any tangible development to be felt in the country. This and more stories in the news roundup.
A depot in the country with the capacity to hold 100,000 crates. Presiding over the opening ceremony, the Central Equatorial State Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Jacob Aligo, said the state is opening its doors to investors to join hands with the country in the national building. South Sudan Depot Initiative is part of the company's larger expansion strategy aimed at contributing social economic development in the country.
I am very grateful for EABL because of the things that they have enumerated, especially their corporate social responsibilities. The issue like provision of water services, sponsoring of students in high institutions of learning, management of the environment, employment opportunities to our young people. And this was very important because it eases the pressure that is on our governments.
We also are keen in education. And we do sponsor needy students into higher education. We are also passionate about the environment. And we play a major role in environmental conservation. And all these things we plan to do more in South Sudan as we deepen our relationship with our mother markets.
Elsewhere, the government of Central Equatorial State is blaming lack of adequate law to finish tax vendors for the deteriorating service delivery in the state. The chairperson of the Joint Committee on Finance and Economic Development and the Public Account Committee, James Juma Peter, said there is need of sound law to enable the state generate more revenue to run its affairs.
In the course of the visits, the committee registered a lot of good information from the respective institutions, partly to do with some of the challenges that affect these institutions in terms of low service money that has been provided to these institutions, which in one way or the other retards the performances in the institutions.
And the Ministry of Transport, Roads and Bridges has signed a contract with the Chinese New Era Company for the construction of 89 kilometers Magui-Lokbanok roads in eastern Equatorial State. The Undersecretary in the Ministry of Roads and Bridges, Engineer Gabriel Makur, said the company was awarded the contract through a competitive process and the road will link the rich agricultural region to the country's market.
New Era is the company is always ready, make his full effort, and would like to work with South Sudan people together. to build a strong nation, to develop the country, Republic of South Sudan.
One of the important policies of the ministry to take town to people, which is connecting the rural agricultural farmers to the main trunk roads, which is the policy between the Ministry of Transport and Roads and the Ministry of Agriculture.
Reporting for SSTV News in Juba, I am Henry Jada John.
And thank you so much for choosing and staying with SSTV, and have a very good weekend as we have come to the end of the news for this evening.
SSTV, truly African.